Hello friends, welcome to the channel. I am Rohit. Hope you are doing good. Friends, in today's video we are going to discuss about how to configure SMTP mail server in Cisco Packet Tracer with DNS. Now friends, let's try to discuss what topics we are going to cover in today's video. So we have divided this total theory in three parts. In the first part, I am going to tell you the protocol that is used for sending email like SMTP. So we will see what is SMTP, we will understand the fundamentals of SMTP, and also we will go through the architecture of SMTP with its various components. In next part, we will talk about which protocols are used for receiving emails. So there are two protocols that we are going to discuss here. POP3, that is Post Office Protocol version 3, and IMAP, that is Internet Message Access Protocol. So these two protocols are dealing with receiving emails which are sent using SMTP. And at the end of video, we will try to compare POP3 with SMTP. So we will have a clear idea. So here we want to convey that we don't have to get confused between SMTP and this POP3 IMAP. SMTP's purpose is to send email, whereas this POP3 and IMAP, these are used for receiving email, or these are used for retrieving email from the email server. So this is overview of the contents that we are going to discuss in today's video. Now let's start the video. The introduction of SMTP. So SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So this is a standard protocol which is used for sending and receiving email between the servers. So SMTP protocol uses port number 25 for unencrypted communication, whereas it uses port number 587 for encrypted communication. So it is also known as SMTP S for secure. So 25 port for unsecure and 587 for secure communication. So this protocol is using TCP protocol for transmitting mails between sender and receiver. So why it is using TCP? Because as we knew, TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, and this protocol is providing reliability in a communication, whereas it uses connection oriented communication mechanism between email client and email server. So before sending email from sender to receiver, connection is established first of all, then emails are getting transmitted, and then connection is getting closed. So these three stages are followed by SMTP as it is based on TCP protocol. Now let's try to move further, and fundamentals of SMTP we will try to understand. So here first of all, what is purpose of SMTP? So SMTP is designed for transmission of emails over the internet. So as we knew, email is one of the most popular way for communicating over the global network like internet. So for transmitting email, SMTP protocol is designed, and job of this protocol is to move emails between various servers that are available between sender and receiver. Next point, we have communication process. So SMTP is following client server architecture. So there is a client machine where a user will be available with his email client, or it is also referred as mail user agent. So this email client or mail user agent having all facilities that are required for sending email. So a client computer will send email to a server, and then server will send message to the recipient's server. Next point, we have port and server configuration. So as we talk SMTP is using port number 25. So 25 denotes unencrypted communication, okay, where encryption will not be done. So wherever you will require secure communication, you may go for SMTP which follows port number 587. So on server side, SMTP servers can be configured which will handle the outgoing email. Next point, we have message format. So whenever you will talk about email, there are two parts. It contains header and a body. So in a header, there are different things like sender's email address, recipient's email address, subject, date, and there are other metadata as well available. And in body, the actual message contents. Now next point, we have SMTP commands. So this protocol is based on certain set of commands which are used whenever there is a communication between client and server. So few examples we have given here. First command is HELO. So this is used for initiating the conversion between client and server. Second is mail from. So it specifies the sender's email address. RCPT, that is recipients to. It indicates the recipient's email address. Next one is data. So this command is a signal, that is specifying start of email data transmission. Next command is quit command. So it is ending the session between client and server. Next we have relaying messages. So SMTP servers are also responsible for moving messages between server to server until they reach to their final destination. So these are few commands we have regarding SMTP. Now let's try to talk about authentication and security. It uses SMTP auth. So it requires users to provide their credentials like username and password before sending email. And from security point of view, SMTP also supports protocols like SSL, TSL for making communication more secure. Next point, we have in fundamentals, error handling. So SMTP have various error codes for indicating various issues in the transmitting email between client and server. These codes are useful for troubleshooting the errors that are involved within the mail delivery between client and server. So it may include like invalid email address, server is unavailable, or there might be some other issues. Next point, we have extensions and enhancements. So in the initial days of SMTP, it was only allowing text-based communication, but nowadays it uses MIME, that is multi-purpose internet mail extensions, due to which we may add various components to our email in form of attachments. So images may be there, text formatting may be there, multimedia contents may be there. So all these are supported nowadays by SMTP. Now let's look to the alternatives. So as we discuss in the overview, here we have to again understand that SMTP is used for sending emails, whereas for retrieving emails from email server, we need a protocol like IMAP, that is Internet Message Access Protocol, or we may have POP, that is Post Office Protocol. So this POP is having version 3, that's why it is referred as POP3. So these are alternatives we may use while receiving the emails. So friends, these are all the fundamentals regarding SMTP. Now let's try to understand the SMTP architecture. So architecture of SMTP contains various components. So there are primarily two components, client side component and server side component. And there are other components as well that are included in the SMTP architecture. So this architecture is having aim to provide facility for sending email between client and server. So while sending this email, it is also having responsibility to route it across multiple servers and allow email to reach its destination. Now let's try to dive into architecture of SMTP. So here first of all we have a client side component. So in client side we have mail user agent, that is MUA, or we may also refer it as a email client in simple word. So this MUA or email client is used for composing, sending, receiving, and for managing our emails. So like we use Outlook is there, Thunderbird is there, Gmail is there. So these are few popular names which most of the users are using for sending, receiving and for doing other stuff related to email. So mail user agent is responsible for initiating the email sending process, and it is communicating with the email server for transmitting message from client to a server. Let's try to understand now second component, which is server side component. So on server side we have a mail transfer agent, that is MTA. So this is basically the software that operates on mail servers, and it is responsible for routing emails across the internet so they can reach to their destination. So MTAs are implementing the SMTP for transmitting emails between multiple servers. So they include both the functionality, that is SMTP client as well as SMTP server. So this is the second important component. Now let's try to look to certain other components. So in the SMTP architecture we have a SMTP server. So SMTP server is a software which is installed on the mail server, and it is handling the incoming email as well as it is handling the outgoing email. So as it is implementing SMTP protocol, that's why it is listening on port number 25 for all the incoming connections from various clients. Then on SMTP server we have message queues. So these are used for managing the messages that are incoming to a SMTP server. So whatever messages are coming to a server, that are queued for further processing and delivering. Next we have address resolution. So SMTP server is also performing task of address resolution for determining the recipient's email server based on their email domain. So this routing information is useful for moving message between server to server until the message reaches to its destination. So these are few things that you will have on the SMTP server. So in overall, we can say SMTP server is a software that is responsible for managing all the incoming messages and as well as moving them to their final destination using certain routing information. So for management of messages, it uses queue. So next component we have in architecture, communication protocol. So as we knew, protocols are the rules that are governing the communication between two entities. So here SMTP protocol is defining the rules and commands that will be followed while transferring mails between client and server. So as we discussed, there are various commands. So hello, mail from, RCPT to data quit. So these commands already we have seen. So all these commands it is using for the purpose of establishing connection, verifying users and transferring message contents, as well as after that closing the connection. So next component we have message format. So as we talk in the intro, whenever we are using email for a communication, so there is a specific message format in which this communication is possible. So it has two parts, header and a body. So header contains various details. So it may contain the sender's address, recipient's address, subject, date, and there are other things as well related to message. Whereas body contains the actual message. Nowadays as we talk, apart from plain text, it may have various contents like images may be there. So for that purpose it is using multi-purpose internet mail extension, which allows to put various contents apart from text in form of their attachment. So this is what the message format. Now security and authentication. So already we have seen the fundamentals. SMTP also supporting the encryption protocols for making communication more secure like SSL or TSL. So main purpose of including these protocols is to prevent the unauthorized access or preventing the interception of sensitive or important email contents. So next to that we have authentication mechanism. So SMTP auth is allowing clients to authenticate themselves for sending emails. So authentication is involved here to prevent the unauthorized use of specific mail account. Then next to that, last thing we have in our architecture, error handling. So SMTP is having certain numerical codes which are used for identifying and troubleshooting various emails that are involved in the communication. So invalid recipient's address may be there, or server unavailability may be there. So such type of issues can be denoted by specific code by SMTP. So because of which this can be identified and troubleshoot easily. So friends, this is the architecture and its various components. Now let's try to move to the second part of discussion, that is a receiving email. So friends, in the sending email we have SMTP protocol. Now in case of receiving we have two protocols. One is POP3 and another one is IMAP. So let's try to see first of all what is POP3. So POP3 stands for Post Office Protocol version 3. So this protocol is representing the latest version of standard method for receiving email on recipient side. Now next point, we have client server functionality. So POP3 protocol operates in client server manner. So client sends email and server receives that email on the internet server on behalf of user. Next point, we have mail retrieval process. So POP3 protocol is used for checking the mails in the mailboxes and as well as for downloading them on the local computer. Next point, we have integration with the email products. So POP3 can be integrated into various popular email clients and products like Outlook Express, Netscape Navigator, Internet Explorer browser, etc. Next point, we have deletion from the server. So in case of POP3, as soon as user download the email is immediately deleted from the email server. Next point, we have mail retention options. So as we discussed, as soon as user is downloading email, it is getting deleted. But if user wants to store email for certain specified duration, then that setting also allowed by POP3. So they will not get deleted immediately. Last point, we have in POP3 store and forward service. So POP3 can be viewed as a store and forward service. So in which it retrieves and stores the email on the server until user downloads them using certain email client. So this is how the POP3 is available. Now another option we are going to discuss here in contrast to POP3. So name is Internet Message Access Protocol, that is IMAP protocol. So this protocol can be observed as a alternative to POP3. So it is also used for receiving email. So it is providing enhanced capabilities as compared to POP3. So these capabilities are in context of retaining emails on the server, as well as it is allowing to organize them in proper folders directly on the server. So here this IMAP protocol is giving you feeling of accessing the remote file server, where you will be able to manage and store your emails comfortably. Now here one point we have that differentiation from the SMTP. So as we told at the start of video as well, SMTP is used for sending emails, whereas IMAP and POP3, these are used for receiving the email, or these are used for retrieving the email. So we don't have to get confused between SMTP and IMAP and POP. And here we have the role of SMTP in email sending. So it is just responsible for sending email. Once the mail is sent, the mail handler will receive the email. So after receiving email, they can be fetched using POP or IMAP. So this is the little bit overview what is IMAP. So IMAP can be seen as a more advanced way for receiving or retrieving email from the email server as compared to POP. So last point we are moving here, SMTP versus POP. Now we knew SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and it is used for sending the email from client to a server. That is what its purpose. Then if we try to talk about functionality, so it is responsible for transmission and delivery of outgoing email messages. If we try to talk about port number, so SMTP is using 25 port for unencrypted communication, and it is using port number 587 for encrypted communication. So if we try to talk about the role, so it handles the process of sending emails from sender's email client to recipient's email server. Then storing data. So here SMTP is not storing any email. It is just moving or routing email from server to server, so it will be reached to their destination. Now same points we will use to understand POP. So we will get the overview of comparison between SMTP and POP. So purpose of SMTP we have seen for sending the email. Now purpose of POP is to retrieve the incoming email messages from the server. So in other words we can say receive the email, okay, and fetch it to the user's computer. Then functionality. So POP is responsible for retrieving emails from the email server and downloading them to the client's device, so they can be accessed offline even when internet connection is not available. POP protocol is using port number 110 for unencrypted communication, whereas it is using port number 995 for encrypted communication. So in that case, it is known as POP3S, S for secure. Then if we try to talk about role, so POP allows receiving emails from the server and downloading them into the user's device. And if we try to talk about storing data, so SMTP was not storing any email, but in case of POP, they are downloading emails to a client's local device, and then after that they are deleting them from the email server. So this is the overview of POP. So in this way we have understood the basic comparison between SMTP and POP. So in short, in summary, we will say SMTP is used for sending email and POP is used for retrieving email, receiving email, fetching email from the email server on local device of users. So SMTP involved only in moving messages, whereas POP is involved in the downloading those messages on user's machine. So friends, we reach to the end of theoretical discussion here. So in summary, we want to say that for sending email, we have SMTP protocol. For receiving email, we have IMAP or POP3 protocols. In overall, we can say SMTP is very important for configuring email clients, managing email servers, troubleshooting email delivery problems, whereas on receiver's end, we have POP and IMAP. So POP and IMAP both are using for retrieving or fetching email from the mail server to the user's local machine. Friends, after this theoretical discussion, now I will take you to the packet tracer for implementation of SMTP protocol or SMTP server. So here we have this blank workspace available. Let's try to put the network components and let's try to build our network scenario. So in this scenario now, first of all, we have mail server, that is SMTP server. Then next to that, we are going to use DNS server for resolving our mail domain name. Then next to that, we will place one switch over here for connecting all these components together. And here we are going to place host, which will be used for sending emails. So this is how we have placed all the components over here. Now we will try to connect them. So first of all, I will connect this host to a switch. Then we will connect switch to both of these servers. Now friends, here all connections we have done. Now we are going to place nodes over here for specifying the details of our scenario in terms of their IP addresses. So first of all, this is our SMTP, or we can say mail server, and let's assume the name of mail server is example.com, or you may use any server name, depend on your choice. And here we are going to use, let's say, IP address for this mail server 192.168.10.10. Now we have interface associated with this server, that is default gateway for this server. So let's say default gateway, and its IP we will assume 192.168.10.20. Now this is our another server, DNS server we have. So DNS server. Now let's assume its IP 192.168.10.30. Now this server is having interface. So the default gateway of this server, default gateway. So its IP is 192.168.10.40. Now these are the two clients we have. So let's assume their IP address as 192.168.10.5, and there is another client we have, IP address 192.168.10.6. So this is how we have placed all the details. Now friends, in this scenario we are going to assume two users on these two clients. So let's assume on this first machine there will be user 1, okay, and let's assume its IP address user1@example.com. This is the email address for user 1. Now in the same way, on this machine we have user 2, and let's assume user2@example.com. So we are using here example.com. Why? Because our domain name for our mail server is example.com. So if you are assuming anything else, according to that your email addresses will get changed over here. Okay. Now this is how we have assumed the details over here. Now friends, let's try to configure now these devices one by one. So first of all, we will go to this PC0 and we will configure its IP address. So here, as we have discussed, the IP will be 192.168.10.5. We got the subnet mask, default gateway. So for both of these machines, the default gateway will be the 192.168.10.40, because all the communication of both of these hosts will first of all reach to this DNS server for resolving the query of example.com domain. Okay, so that's why default gateway is this one. Now DNS server address we will put. So our DNS server is 192.168.10.30. Okay, this is how the IP address configuration for user 1 or first machine. Now another thing we have to configure here, and that is the email setup. So click on email. Now here first of all put the name of user. So As per our discussion, we have name user1. Now, what is email address for user1? So it is user1@example.com. So here our incoming mail server will be example.com and outgoing server will be example.com. Now here we need to specify the authentication credentials for user1. So for simplicity, we will assume user1 as username and same password I am using. So after giving all these details, click on save. So this is the simple client interface they have provided for composing email, replying email, and here you can see the emails that are received. Okay, so with this we will close now. Client 1 is ready. Now we will configure the second client. So we will go to the desktop IP configuration. So first of all, IP address 192.168.10.6. we got the, okay, there is a mistake little bit, 192.168.10.6. we got the subnet mask. Now default gateway will be the again same one of DNS server. So 192.168.10.40. DNS server address 192.168.10.30. So this is how the IP configuration for EC2. Now again we will go to the email and here we will provide the details. So in this case now username is user2, email address is user2@example.com, then incoming mail server is example.com, outgoing mail server is example.com. Then here we will assume username as user2 and password as user2. So this username and password we will require while configuring the email server. Okay. So like this we have saved the email configuration for this second client. Now both machines we have configured. Now we will try to configure DNS server. So first of all we will give the IP address details. So its IP is 192.168.10.30. Now subnet mask, default gateway will be the 192.168.10.40. DNS server address 192.168.10.30. So these are the IP configuration details. Now we will go to services and here we will click on DNS. So it is off right now, turn it on. And now which domain name we have to resolve? So we have to resolve this example.com. So put it example.com. Now put the IP address to which we want to map it. So 192.168.10.10. Now click on add. You can see now entry is added in the DNS. So click on save. Now friends, whenever any of this client will send email using the destination email address like user2@example.com, so query will come to DNS and it will find that example.com domain is having this IP address. So the request will be forwarded to this IP. In this way the DNS server will be mapping the domain name in our case. So here the DNS server is also ready. Now last thing we have in the scenario, email server itself. So let's try to put the details. So IP is 192.168.10.10. Default gateway, so 192.168.10.20. DNS server, so we have IP 192.168.10.30. Now services, and here we will look for email service. So here you can see both the services are available, POP3 as well as SMTP. So both are on. Now first of all, set the domain name. So whatever we have decided, like example.com, this is our domain name. So click on set. Now once domain name is set, you add the users whatever we have decided. So there are two users in our case, user 1, and provide the password that we have given on these two hosts while configuring them. So password was user 1. Click on plus button. Now user 1 is added. In the same way you add user 2, and here password is user 2. Click on plus. Now friends, you can see both users are added and they are ready to use. So in this way now we have configured the mail server or SMTP on this generic server. Now friends, our complete scenario is configured and now it is ready for a test. So let's try to send now email from this first client to the second client, that is from user 1 to user 2. So we will click on PC0 and now we will go to email, and here I am going to open the another window. So this is PC0 and this is PC1. So we supposed to be in receive. Okay, here you can see it is receiving mail from the POP3 server, like example.com in our case. Okay, and here we are using DNS as well for resolving our example.com domain name. Now let's try to send email. So here we will put the email address user2 @example.com. Now subject is first message from user 1. Okay, and same we will put in the body as well. So this is first message from user 1. Now friends, we will click on send. Now here you can see the details. So here you can see DNS resolving the name, that is example.com, and it is querying to a DNS server, that is our DNS server IP 192.168.10.30. And we got the message here, DNS resolve the IP, and what IP it has resolved? Our mail server, that is 192.168.10.10, and here you can see the send success. So if we click on receive again, you can see now we got the mail from user 1 here. So if you click, you will get the message over here. Okay, now you can reply to this message. Now let's try to put some reply for this message. Hello, this is reply from user 2. Okay, and click on send. Now here as well you can see send success. Now again we will go to receive. Now here you got the reply. So you can see we got the message, hello, this is a reply from user 2. So like this we have simulated the sending mail and receiving mail using SMTP and POP3 server in the packet tracer. So friends, in this way we have seen the fundamentals of SMTP, POP3, IMAP, and the configuration of SMTP in the packet tracer for sending and receiving email simulation. So friends, if you find this video useful, please like and share this video. If you are visiting this channel first time, please subscribe this channel and hit the bell icon. So whenever we will post new video, you will get the notification. So friends, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in next video.